delivering value with integrity, exploring great books worldwide. Hi, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we're diving into the book To the Lighthouse, written by renowned British author Virginia Woolf. Before we begin, let me share a story. In 2009, the Independent newspaper reported a Cornwall beach offering views of an island lighthouse that was auctioned off, attracting global bidders, including Americans and Russians. Eventually sold to a British woman for £80,000. Why this lighthouse view captivated so many? The Independent claimed this lighthouse inspired Woolf's masterpiece. What makes To the Lighthouse unique? Woolf herself resisted calling it a novel, preferring alternative forms. Critics describe it more as poetry than fiction, a painting in words. Still unclear? Let me simplify. This is stream of consciousness literature. Stream of consciousness captures our chaotic, ever-changing thoughts. This modernist technique was revolutionary for its time. Expect inner monologues, vivid nature descriptions, fleeting impressions and memory flashes. Plot takes backseat to sensory experiences and psychological depth. Stream of consciousness masters include Joyce, Ulysses, and Proust, In Search of Lost Time. And Woolf, born 1882 in London to historian Sir Leslie Stephen, whose artistic circle nurtured young Virginia's literary talents. She encouraged her voracious reading of philosophical and literary classics, laying foundation for her groundbreaking career. Sadly, when Woolf was 22, her father passed away, and she moved with her sister to London's Bloomsbury district. Here emerged the historic Bloomsbury Group, gathering cultural elites who expanded Woolf's literary and artistic horizons through intellectual exchange. Woolf's renowned works include Mrs. Dalloway, The Waves, and our focus today, To the Lighthouse. Many literary historians regard To the Lighthouse as her most perfect work. At about 150,000 characters, To the Lighthouse is considered a compact novel by Chinese standards. The novel has 3 parts: The Window, Time Passes, and The Lighthouse, spanning World War I. It chronicles the Ramsay family's ordinary daily life through deceptively simple events. This exemplifies modernist fiction's focus on psychological depth over traditional plot-driven storytelling. Discovering profound meaning beneath surface mundanity is precisely the joy of reading modernist works. Let me outline the story. Part 1 finds the Ramsays summering at their seaside villa with friends. Mrs. Ramsay wants to take 6-year-old James to the White House. Mr. Ramsay claims bad weather prevents the trip. During their wait, every thought and observation is meticulously recorded. The climax comes during a dinner scene where all characters converge. The novel captures mental fluctuations as characters observe and mentally critique each other's behavior. Conflicting themes emerge: Mrs. Ramsay's idealism, father-son tensions, through overlapping psychological impressions. Part 2 addresses World War I's impact. Rather than depicting battlefields, it shows the abandoned villa decaying under natural forces during wartime. Amid extensive nature descriptions, brief mentions reveal the Ramsays' wartime tragedies, Mrs. Ramsay's death, and children's accidents. This shortest section spans a decade, its marine descriptions becoming iconic modernist literature exemplars. The poetic, natural imagery blends cosmic power with human fate contemplation, creating profound melancholy. Post-war, Part 3 sees Mr. Ramsay returning to the villa with surviving children and friends. He resolves to fulfill his late wife's wish, finally taking the children to the lighthouse. Artist Lily Briscoe reappears, struggling to complete Mrs. Ramsay's portrait since Part 1. Haunted by memories, Lily gains new understanding of Mrs. Ramsay's essence through wartime reflections. The war's perspective helps Lily discover the true artistic approach to capture her subject's spirit. Watching the lighthouse expedition, Lily begins hopeful brushstrokes on her long-stalled canvas. Lily's completed painting fills her emotional void, while memorializing Mrs. Ramsay's legacy. The lighthouse journey mends father-son rifts through shared experience and understanding. The deliberately uneventful conclusion emphasizes psychological depth over plot mechanics. Woolf constructs a mental labyrinth through fluid consciousness, simple in outline, complex in execution. Like navigating foggy paths, readers experience wonder and disorientation in equal measure. This novel demands interpretation through symbolism and texture rather than narrative conventions. We'll analyze two aspects: natural symbolism and the lighthouse's multi layered meanings. First, exploring how nature serves as emotional mirror and philosophical framework. Second, decoding the lighthouse's shifting symbolism throughout the narrative journey. Second, specific interpretation. Mastering these two aspects of stream of consciousness reveals modernist fiction's allure. First, the novel's nature depictions, particularly its marine imagery, established it as modernist masterpiece. Critics often call Woolf a poet due to her lyrical nature descriptions. Her landscapes transcend mere beauty. They're philosophical instruments. Nature becomes a lens for examining human destiny and fragility. Part 1 interweaves bay and wave imagery with characters' meandering thoughts. These natural elements recur like musical motifs throughout the narrative. Readers report constant sensory immersion. Crashing waves, lighthouse beams permeate every chapter. This demonstrates Woolf's penetrating environmental storytelling. Time passes. Section elevates marine descriptions to protagonist status. Let me read this haunting opening. No stir in the drawing room. Sea-moistened air swelling wooden doors, slipping through cracks to haunt empty rooms. Notice Woolf's nature writing characteristics here. Nature's overwhelming power dwarfs human existence in her prose. The omnipresent sea wind becomes textual atmosphere itself. Characters' brief awareness of natural forces highlights their insignificance. Continuing, you might fancy them asking when wallpaper will fall, whispering to faded roses, questioning discarded letters. Natural forces anthropomorphized. This personification reveals nature as active narrative participant. Are they enemies? How much longer can they endure? Don't you find Woolf's prose remarkably nuanced? Woolf imbues nature with autonomous vitality. The sea breeze enters rooms not as destroyer but inquisitor, whispering to wallpaper and interrogating discarded letters with ancient wisdom. This primal energy exists beyond human rationality, a cosmic force surpassing mortal comprehension. Such vivid nature descriptions permeate the novel, carefully curated rather than random observations. Woolf constructs symbolic networks through selective imagery, deepening philosophical resonance. The lighthouse emerges as central symbol among meticulously arranged natural elements. What deeper meaning does the lighthouse embody? Beyond nautical guidance, it symbolizes aspirational ideals, both personal and artistic. This multifaceted symbol transcends conventional interpretations in Woolf's hands. It transcends physical structure, embodying Mrs. Ramsay's moral ideals and Lily's artistic aspirations. The lighthouse remains narrative anchor amidst psychological turbulence, granting existential orientation. As we analyze this symbol through textual examples, Part 1 establishes the lighthouse as persistent visual motif during domestic scenes. Mrs. Ramsay's solitary knitting becomes meditative ritual synchronized with lighthouse beams. Our spiritual communion with distant light foreshadows posthumous artistic legacy. The lighthouse's rhythmic illumination mirrors creative consciousness itself, alternating between clarity and obscurity, yet persistently guiding. Her inner monologue unfolds. At this hour, in this state, gazing at the light beam inevitably connects observer to observed. That third beam becomes extension of self, dash steady luminous finger across dark waters. She often found herself merging with the radiance until becoming light itself through sustained contemplation. Mrs. Ramsay's lighthouse identification reflects spiritual alignment, not narcissism. The lighthouse embodies her inner constancy, idealized selfhood purified from falsehood. Symbolically, It represents order, authenticity, and elevated spiritual aspirations. This central symbol activates narrative constellations through thematic resonance. The novel's structural integrity emerges from these symbolic interactions. Consider Part 1's climactic dinner scene, microcosm of symbolic ordering. Lily observes Mrs. Ramsay's sincere efforts to harmonize the gathering. The hostess becomes living embodiment of artistic integrity for Lily. This epiphany reignites Lily's stalled creative process regarding her painting. A simple tree adjustment in composition mirrors Mrs. Ramsay's social balancing act. Woolf writes, "There, that's my solution, resolving the compositional dilemma." The salt cellar's repositioning becomes physical metaphor for artistic breakthrough. This dinner sequence dramatizes centripetal social forces in action. Mrs. Ramsay's self-effacing orchestration attempts to counter modern fragmentation. Her quiet leadership offers provisional meaning in disorienting times. This fragile communion prefigures post-war attempts at reconstruction. Lily Briscoe witnesses this epiphany, understanding both Mrs. Ramsay's significance and her own artistic purpose. Mrs. Ramsay safeguards communal harmony and enduring values through subtle emotional labor. This establishes profound spiritual kinship between the two women, silent yet transformative. The novel suggests such value preservation only achieves permanence through artistic creation. Posthumously, Lily becomes Mrs. Ramsay's spiritual heir in Part 3's resolution. Her painting process becomes ritualistic preservation of shared ideals. Their consciousnesses achieve transcendent communion across temporal boundaries. Before final brushstroke, Lily gazes at empty stone steps, once Mrs. Ramsay's domain. Those weathered steps where knitting needles once danced now stand vacant. Compelled by sudden clarity, Lily's decisive stroke completes both painting and elegy. The final pigment stroke memorializes absence, artistic apotheosis of memory. Through art, Lily achieves symbolic fulfillment of Mrs. Ramsay's unrealized aspirations. Having analyzed nature's symbolism, let's examine Woolf's stream of consciousness technique. The Lighthouse exemplifies modernist focus on psychological nuance over plot mechanics. Consider Mrs. Ramsay's complex psyche after storytelling. Woolf's narrative shifts fluidly. Interest faded from James' eyes as new awareness dawned, his gaze fixed elsewhere. What redirects the child's attention? Woolf's camera eye pivots seaward. Mrs. Ramsay turned, following his gaze across the bay to where light pierced waves. This seamless perspective shift demonstrates stream of consciousness mastery. Psychological currents merge with environmental stimuli in Woolf's narrative tide. Through turbulent waves came rhythmic flashes, two quick bursts, then a sustained beam piercing maritime haze. The lighthouse's awakened eye now cast its eternal vigil. Woolf plunges into Mrs. Ramsay's psychological undercurrents. James will ask if we're going to the lighthouse tomorrow, she anticipates. She mentally rehearses the crushing denial. No, your father says we can't. Servants' footsteps disrupt this tense moment, redirecting attention. James keeps staring back as carried away, silent reproach incarnate. Mrs. Ramsay interprets his gaze. Tomorrow's trip is canceled forever in his mind. This moment will scar his childhood, she agonizes. This psychological sequence unfolds through Mrs. Ramsay's perceptual filter. Observing light patterns and her son's shifting focus triggers maternal anxiety. She projects imagined futures onto James' innocent expression. These speculative anxieties demonstrate Woolf's stream of consciousness mastery. The narrative dissolves into pure subjectivity. Thought cascades replacing plot. While perspective shifts aren't revolutionary, Woolf's execution redefines them. Her narrative dances between consciousnesses like fireflies in twilight. Characters remain impressionistic silhouettes shaped by others' perceptions. Mrs. Ramsay exists through fragmented impressions, nurturing saint to some, smothering presence to others. Woolf rejects definitive characterization, embracing contradictory human complexity. In Woolf's hands, Mrs. Ramsay becomes enigmatic nexus rather than conventional literary archetype. This ambiguity embodies modernist fiction's essential characteristic. Modernist novels reject coherent plots and fully realized characters. They instead depict reality through fragmented subjective impressions. This stems from modernist distrust of realism's overconfident grand narratives. The narrative relinquishes moral judgment, embracing psychological ambiguity. Like the window section title suggests, each consciousness reveals partial truths. This cinematic montage approach creates kaleidoscopic narrative perspectives. Woolf's essay Modern Fiction advocates capturing consciousness's chaotic flow. Fluid, she chronicles how ordinary minds process countless atomic impressions. To the Lighthouse realizes this vision through overlapping sensory fragments. Woolf resists organizing perceptions into neat narrative packages. Readers must actively construct meaning from textual fragments. This demands engaged readership, capable of co-creating textual reality. That is stream of consciousness, nearly technical innovation. Woolf's significance lies in aligning literary technique with broader artistic revolutions. In autumn 1910, Britain hosted the groundbreaking post-impressionist exhibition. Organized by Bloomsbury Group members, it pioneered capturing modern urban life through artistic modernity. Impressionists' fluid color techniques mirrored artists' dynamic perceptions of reality. These artistic experiments paralleled literature's inward psychological exploration. This exhibition solidified Woolf's literary convictions about subjective reality. Woolf provocatively claimed human character fundamentally changed around December 1910. This statement encompassed broader sociocultural transformations beyond art. Woolf perceived 1910 as Western civilization's tectonic cultural shift. Pre-war Europe faced political, economic, and ideological crises reshaping humanity. Scholars later describe this era as civilizational collapse prelude. Sensitive artists foresaw barbarism threatening Enlightenment ideals. Freudian psychoanalysis exemplifies this inward cognitive shift. Seemingly technical innovations reflected deeper epistemological transformations. Traditional certainties crumbled amidst ideological crises. Humanity retreated to inner subjectivity as external world destabilized. Stream of consciousness became elegy for collapsing world order. The Lighthouse's ordered symbolism contrasts with psychological fragmentation. This duality reflects both broken world and persistent search for meaning. Modernist art and literature documented civilization's precarious reconstruction, a new spiritual identity. Though prospects remain uncertain, this quest itself testifies to humanity's enduring hope. To the Lighthouse offers numerous discussion points. We focused on two key aspects. Let me briefly summarize the stream of consciousness technique. Stream of consciousness transcends literary device, its spiritual response to global upheaval. It resonates with pre-WWI cultural anxieties permeating Western society. Secondly, the novel's symbolic natural imagery. Nature serves not just as backdrop, but profound symbolism, particularly the lighthouse's rich significance. It structurally unifies the narrative while conveying spiritual perseverance through fragmentation. To the Lighthouse grapples with 20th century existential dilemmas. Its two world wars catastrophically reshaped human civilization. Though overt warfare has diminished, global tensions and conflicts persist. Modern life remains fraught with existential doubt and value crises. In our individualistic age, people resemble isolated atoms, hyperconnected yet profoundly alienated. The novel's psychological depth mirrors our inner worlds. Whether fulfilled or adrift, readers find reflections of their psychic states. Nature's torrential presence in the text underscores cosmic permanence against human transience. This perspective invites humble re-examination of our place in the cosmos. That concludes our exploration. Study notes await below. Until next time with another literary journey.